today's top boxing news.
I recognise your accent. I was like, you're one of us.
But for all the Americans,
Yep.
what are they going to expect on Friday?
They're going to be welcome to Catford, London. So Friday night, I feel like I'll show them what we represent for sure. I'm excited. I'm bringing everything, so I'm looking forward to saying hello to them all.
You're going to win that bonus.
Hey, I saw it. You see my eyes out. I ain't got a stoppage yet. Maybe it's coming Friday night.
What did you think about the $250,000 Fighter of the Night bonus? Was that news to you? And does that add a new motivation for you to really show out here in America?
It was like Jerry Maguire, show me the money. So I feel like everyone on that stage jumped up, and including my brother in the audience. So it's no one expected it, especially not that much. So it puts more icing on the cake. But the first and foremost is bringing home the WBC along with what I've got.
So I'm sure most of you have heard by now that there will be a winner's bonus for the standout performer, the standout fighter of tomorrow night's fight. Amandia Serrano has gone ahead and ruled herself out. Given what she stands to make for the fight with Katie, the trilogy, she doesn't actually need that winner's bonus. The other girls on the card, they might.
Generous of her.
She's a very generous person. Attractive too, but that now begs the question, if there's no chance of the bonus going to either Amanda or Katie, who will the bonus go to? When you talk about a winner's bonus, a performance bonus, it's got to go to the performance of the night, and that tends to be the fighter that can rack up a highlight reel knockout.
Okay then, which fight on the card or which fights on the card stand the best chance of ending in a knockout?
The fight that I feel is less likely to end in a knockout has to be Ellie's fight with Jamie Mercado, that I anticipate Ellie is going to win by way of a points decision. But Ellie, God bless her, is not a knockout merchant. Jamie isn't one either.
That rules them out.
Chantel Cameron versus Jessica Kamara. I think Chantel is going to beat her, and I think Chantel is going to overpower her, and there is a chance that Chantel mows her down and stops her. There's a chance.
But there are other fights on the bill that are likelier to end in a knockout than Cameron versus Kamara. So I'm not too confident that Chantel is going to get that winner's bonus. I'm confident she wins the fight, but I'm not that confident that she stops Jessica. We'll see.
Comes to Shernika Johnson versus Sharita Metcalf. While I do have Shernika Johnson winning the fight, I don't know that that fight ends in a knockout, and I don't know that it needs to for Shernika to win. All she's got to do is pressure Sharita the same way she pressured Nina Hughes in their last two fights. If she does that to Sharita, she will show Sharita's age, because Sharita's a lot older than Shernika. But I don't know that Shernika stops her, because Sharita's never been knocked out. She's got a few losses, but none of them were by way of knockout.
So I'm not fully confident that fight ends in a knockout either. Ali versus Furtado.
Ramla Ali's ring return against the hard Brazilian slugger Lila Furtado. I feel like the only way this fight ends in a knockout is if Lila Furtado knocks out Ramla Ali, because if Ramla wins, it's going to be by moving and boxing. It's going to be by using the ring, not stopping Lila Furtado. If Raven Chapman didn't stop Lila, and Karis Artingstall didn't stop Lila, I don't think Ramla stops Lila.
Those aforementioned fighters both punch harder than Ramla Ali, and they are more aggressive than Ramla Ali. So if they didn't stop Lila, I don't think Ramla stops Lila.
Now, one of the fights that I think is likelier than not to end in a knockout is the Tam Tebow versus Mary Casamassa fight at middleweight. I think there's a good chance that Tam might stop Mary Casamassa Asa, because Mary's got really leaky defense, and Tam, good fundamentals. She punches hard.
She might get Mary out of there.
Another fight that I think is likelier than not to end in a knockout is the Savannah Marshall versus Jadeja Green fight, because both fighters are very strong fighters, very strong punchers, and I think Savannah has proven herself one of the stronger finishers in women's boxing. There's a decent enough chance that that fight ends in a knockout. There's an even better chance that Alicia Baumgartner proves to be too much and too strong and too physical for Spain's own Jennifer Miranda. Jennifer normally campaigns at 126. She's moving up to 130 for this fight. Unbeaten, yes, but she's never been in there with somebody like Alicia before. The last time we saw Alicia, she was bullying Delphine Persoon, a more experienced and more aggressive fighter than Jennifer Miranda. So if you can bully Delphine, you can bully Jennifer, and you might stop her.
Those are the fights I think that are likelier than not to end in a knockout, and thus, those are the fighters that are likelier to get that winner's bonus. It's either Baumgartner versus Miranda, Marshall versus Green,
Or Tebow versus Casamassa. Perhaps that winner's bonus will go to the winner of one of those 3 aforementioned fights. Let's see.
How y'all get the opportunity at the belt, but once again, we so blessed to fight him.
Listen, we're giving you an opportunity.
He got the belt.
He got the belt.
He came to y'all. He got the belt. He did not come to. That's what you say. He did not come to. You don't want to do that.
So things just got very spicy between Team Haney and Team Norman ahead of Saturday night's fight, the Tri-State Area Turkey LL Sheik's Ring 3 card,
where Devin and Brian will be fighting on Ring Magazine 4 in November in Saudi.
And before things finally erupted, you could hear Bill Haney telling Brian Norman that they're giving Brian an opportunity, that he's blessed to be able to fight Devin?
What?
Sifting through that comment, while he is fortunate to have landed this opportunity at a time where he was likely to be frozen out by the other somebodies in the welterweight division, while he is fortunate, it's not an opportunity that Devin is necessarily affording Brian. It's an opportunity that Turkey is affording Brian. But the Haneys love to pretend that they're the ones in the driver's seat while playing with house money.
Pretending to be bosses. Bill Haney pretending he's Don King or Al Heyman. Devin pretending that he's a promoter. DHP.
I am just so sick of both these guys. I am so sick of the Haneys. For that, a regular viewer here on the channel that goes by the name J. Wright Esquire said, Haney gets a lot of hate on this and other channels, but hate his style and demeanor all you want. Unlike his contemporaries, he at least deserves credit for talking about wanting to build a legacy and proactively chasing the fights.
Oh, you mean he deserves a participation award?
Just as versus Norman, at the time that he started pursuing fights against Lomachenko, Cambodia, Prograrius, and Lopez, he was called out as just clout-chasing fights that he did not really want.
Who said he was chasing fights that he didn't really want? Because it wasn't me. I've said that about other fighters, but I didn't say that about Devin with Lomachenko or with Prograis, with Lopez,
No.
with Cambodia. So who are you talking about? Because you're not talking about me.
Haney hasn't been forced into a world title fight at 147 versus the most notable welterweight left. He was proactively chosen to take the fight and deserves full credit for doing so. Norman himself, on the other hand,
Let me stop you right there. You're saying that he wasn't forced to take this fight. In some ways he was, in some ways he wasn't.
the way that he was is he had 2 fights fall through back to back. 2 major fights that fell apart. What was supposed to be the Ryan Garcia fight, that fell apart because Ryan lost. And then it was the Lopez fight. He was supposed to fight Lopez, but Lopez ducked. So now he's forced to take on this guy, to take on this fight, because if he doesn't, what else is there? Rolly doesn't want to give him the time of day. He's not likely to get the winner of Barrios versus Pacquiao.
He can't make 135 anymore. He can't make 140, so dropping down in weight is not an option. That's how he's forced.
That's how he's forced to fight Brian in some ways. How he's not forced, in some others, is he has at least one alternative to fighting Brian Norman. At least one, even in this situation. And that is not fighting.
Huh?
That is doing nothing. Absolutely nothing, like Teofimo Lopez is doing. Absolutely nothing, while he does his best impersonation of Lao Tzu on social media. That is Devin's alternative to a Brian Norman fight. Because if you don't fight Brian, who else are you going to fight?
In some people's minds, nothing and doing absolutely nothing is an alternative to something. That's how some people's minds work, but not mine. If your only option is to do nothing and make no money at all, that means you have no options.
You gotta bite the bullet, you gotta fight this guy. Otherwise, you'll sit out the rest of the year alongside Teofimo, who is fast becoming an afterthought in light of what news is breaking and what fights are happening. What reason is there to talk about Teofimo? If Devin doesn't want to end up like him, he has to fight.
Obviously, the altercation with Devin Haney. I mean, that's firstly we'll touch on that. What happened in your view? Obviously, video going viral on social media right now. Yeah, from your view, what happened?
I just want to say, I just work here. I was just caught in the midst of it. I was a casualty in the midst. I was just vibing and chilling. You know how life go. But bodyguard came up acting all funny or whatever. So he ripped my little white tee. You never rip a black man white tee. I don't know if you know about that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, so I had to flip big dude after that. But you know, we had to make magic happen.
Yeah, I guess what were your thoughts when that's going on, especially after it, when, I mean, the video shows sort of a bit of escalation, especially from Haney's bodyguard there.
Yeah, we be vibing, man. We just be chilling. We just good people come in and shake hands and show teeth. You know how the gang go. I don't know why they came with all this hostility, my brother.
Why do you think they come with? Why do you think they come? If you got a reason,
they might be a little nervous. I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they trying to put all their energy on us now. It's still gonna be the same thing. You still going to sleep.
Does it add a bit of fuel to the fire for yourself?
It was already gonna be what it was. So this just set it in stone. But it was already gonna be a knockout.
I would love for Brian Norman to send Devin Haney crashing down to the canvas while Bill watches in horror, the same way that he just did Jin Suzuki. But as stated, Jin Suzuki and Devin Haney, they are very different fighters, and thus it's not a foregone conclusion that Brian does to him what he's done to...
Brian is an original, or at least more original than Devin Haney. Devin's still trying to be Mayweather. Bill is still trying to be Al Heyman. Boxing doesn't need more characters like them.
Mayweather impersonators like you used to see Elvis impersonators on the Vegas Strip. Now, if you want to give Devin Haney credit for what professional accolades and fights he's had so far, you can, but that doesn't make him and his father any less cringe or any less annoying.
Boxing would be better off if Devin lost and Brian won, because when it comes to Devin, you've been promoted by Matchroom, you were promoted briefly on Top Rank, you've fought on DAZN, and you've fought on ESPN. And the only thing that's grown in that time are your demands and your ego, but not your drawing power, not how much money you generate from a fight. He's headlined 1 or 2 pay-per-views in the United States, 4 if you count the ones in Australia.
None of which have really endeared Heaven Daney to the boxing community at large. I believe that boxing needs new faces, fresh ones, who don't try to be somebody else. They try to be themselves, and I feel like that's Brian more than it's Devin. I may have had my bones to pick with Brian Norman and his talkative father in the past, but a part of me now is rooting for them. Brian seems like a good kid.
He's alright.
Like him better than Devin, that's for sure. I've had my fill of Devin Haney. I think the American boxing community has as well. They've tried to make him a star.
They spent a lot of money trying, and it still hasn't worked. It's time for something new. Someone new.
That entire previous crop of fighters, Devin, Teofimo, a few others, have been a massive disappointment. Now, as it pertains to Teofimo, who in many ways made this fight between Devin and Brian possible by ducking, he took to his social media to garner what attention he could by being cryptic, saying, "If you're reading this, go sand. You flip-flopping, no loyalty, backbone carrying, no integrity, no dignity, sell yourself for $10. Looking FN.
Food for thought.
I will become a 2-weight division world champion one day. I will be a professional boxer and have a career to make it out of the ghetto. I will one day be Ring Magazine world champion and be respected. A guy can wish, right? I will be so good at my job that instead of getting promoted, I will get demoted."
Is that supposed to be sarcasm?
Teofimo is the root cause of all of Teofimo's problems. After he beat Vasyl Lomachenko, he was on track to become a star, but he's the one who messed all of that up, spending far too much time on the purse for a George Kambosos fight at a time where nobody was really getting big purses because we were coming out of the shutdown. The audiences weren't all the way back yet. We've been all through it. But he did that to himself, essentially.
The way that it happened is Teofimo's fault.
And there's been just so much to have to keep up with in between that all says the same thing. Teofimo is his own worst enemy. He can't get out of his own way because you were offered a slot on one of Turkey's shows to box Devin Haney, and you walked away. I forgot why. Why? Because I don't care anymore.
That's why.
IBF super lightweight champion Hitchins took to his Instagram account to call Teofimo out, saying, "You funny face, strong face, not from New York in a face-ass head. I heard you're gonna be in New York this weekend for the fight. Let's make the fight happen. A unification. True 140 matchup. Teofimo Lopez. Let's do it!"
I don't see why they shouldn't. But for the guy who just walked away from millions upon millions of dollars for Devin, do you think he's gonna do that, then walk into a fight with Richardson Hitchins for less?
I'm assuming for less because Devin is not that big a draw. You understand that? He's not that big a draw. And Richardson Hitchins is even less of a draw than Devin. So I imagine that the money for Hitchins Hitchins would be less than the money that he was offered for Devin.
And on that presupposition, well, I don't think Teofimo's in a hurry to fight Hitchins Hitchins. I don't really think Teofimo's in a hurry to fight anybody anymore.
Kind of over this kid, trying to figure out what's next for him, what he's going to do with his career. He's just not that important. And maybe that's the problem with too many of today's young American boxers. The young American boxer often overestimates his relevance, his marquee value. The show will go on without Teofimo Lopez because it's going on. Brian Norman is fighting Devin Haney.
David Benavidez is fighting Anthony Yard. Bam Rodriguez is fighting Kafu, then Puma.
The show goes on without Teofimo Lopez.
So if you don't want to box, if you'd rather sit at home just tweeting tweets and being cryptic and being,
okay, Laozu, have it your way.
don't fight.
I think that him and Richardson Hitchins kind of need each other because most of the somebodies at 147 are spoken for. Hitchins and Teofimo Lopez represent two of the somebodies at 140.
Two of the champions.
While they still have time, and no mandatories have been called. No mandatory for Richardson Hitchins, no mandatory for Teofimo Lopez. It would be wise to do a fight right now, but Teofimo Lopez is anything but wise in spite of all his cryptic tweets and Laozu quotes.
He's an idiot.
Like I said, you already turned down all that money for a Devin Haney fight. I don't think you turn around and then get more for a lesser-known fighter, even if he is a champion.
Whatever, man.